An expose of the Marine Kingdom's secrets. Part 2. You are welcome to beloved to the continuity of this testimony. I was a Marine Kingdom agent, a servant of the Siren Elizabeth, who is a collaborator of the Princess Magdalene. These are the leading marine spirits that dwell in every toilet of the earth. When I was initiated in witchcraft, I traveled to the castle of the goddess Elizabeth and Jacqueline. In the Marine Kingdom, a mystical and ancient world under the water. In the marine world, I went through changes and became a big lady, and I signed a pact in the Book of the Covenant. My job was to kill, steal, and destroy. I was anointed with the power of seduction. And I was a marriage breaker. I was seducing mainly married men in order to cause them to chase away their wives. Marriage is God's institution, and the devil hated it and will go to any length to destroy it. Children will suffer the most. I was a soul reaper, a soul winner. I was causing car and traffic accidents. I was manipulating the driver and destroying cars and bus breakdowns in order to reap the souls of the innocent, which were taken into captivity in the devil's central prison, which is underwater. These soul victims of human sacrifice were enrolled in the army of Lucifer and deployed on the surface of the earth against the church and humanity on every holiday and pagan feast. The marine world releases fashion brands in order to access the lives of the children of God who are attached to the fashion and trends of this world. It is a shortcut, giving them a foothold in the lives of God's children. 1We should never be attached to the trend in the style of this world, for we are called to be set apart and be separate. When a decision is made in heaven, the devil and his kingdom intelligence would be among the first to know. When God wants to bless you, the devil will know that your blessing is coming. He will pile pressure in your life because he knows that the Lord is about to bless you. In the unseen world, the devil has information about the near future. When a baby is born, the dark world would know that the child that is born would be a great man. They would throw evil darts in order to deviate the destiny of the child. We were able to know that in a near future a couple would be blessed. In order to stop that, we were throwing darts of discord, conflict, and strife in the house. And when a promotion is on the way in the life of a man, we were setting barriers to stop it. Often, when things get tougher in the life of a man, it is because a blessing is on the way. When the dark world is informed that you are about to shine, they will pile up pressure, but you must hang on to the word of the Lord. On the other hand, there are people suffering as a result of plot and conspiracy in the unseen world. Many are suffering in this country as a result of manipulation, occult, and witchcraft. Chapter 7, The Destruction. I was given the water world's beauty in order to dislocate families, and I have destroyed so many homes. I was so seductive that once I seduced a married man, he was completely controlled and was doing whatever I was telling him. These men went on to chase away their wives for me, hoping that I would replace them. They were under manipulation. Every time a family is dislocated, I was abandoning that man. There are women of the water world destroying homes. Many men are under the influence of mermaids. Therefore women must learn to pray for their families and their husbands. 2When a family is dislocated as a result of witchcraft manipulation, there will be anger and hate, so much so that these people will be separated forever with no desire of coming back again. When you are a woman and you discover that your husband has cheated on you, you should not be quick and cause trouble, because the devil's objective is divorce and he is deploying his servants with seduction power, and your husband may have come under seduction and the manipulation. A woman must pray for his husband because the devil wants separation. Chapter 8, The Siren and Fashion. The Marine Kingdom is a strategic physical civilization that is coming up with new ways and new methods to destroy the souls of men. In order to bewitch and curse the world population, fashion and design have been identified as one of the main factors by which control and manipulation would be perpetrated against humanity. People on the surface, men and women, are so much attached to fashion and vanity, thus we were designing clothes, I mean fashion clothes, and we were sending them to the surface. These popular and global brands are attached with a water spirit, and every time men and women adopt the trend, the style, and the fashion, they will come under manipulation. We were also designing necklace, earrings, and jewelry which were attached with the spirit of fornication, rebellion, and vanity. People put clothes and jewelry, but they don't know that these items and articles modify their personality and cause them to behave in a perverse way. These clothes and jewelry go through ritual and ceremony, and they're cursed. In the marine kingdom, new fashions are designed by mermaids. Shoes are also designed by mermaids. Most of the ladies' items are made by mermaids. These items are enveloped with the power of seduction and cause perversion so that men will not resist. 3 sirens have the power of seduction. It is difficult to watch them in the marine kingdom. Artificial hair is designed in the marine world by sirens. In the end times, humans are consuming items designed in the world of Satan that are bewitching and destroying them. Items designed in the water world reduced 5 years in the lives of people who consume them. People are eating food whose origin is unknown. When you fail to pray before eating, you will suffer manipulation. When you fail to pray for clothing and items that you are buying, you will suffer manipulation. I have been in the marine world, that is why I don't just eat anything. I know clothes and brands are produced in the marine world. Chapter 9: The Marine Kingdom and Pagan Holidays and Feasts. The marine world is waging war against the Church of Jesus, and in times of distraction and pagan feasts like Christmas, New Year's Eve, Saint Valentine, Easter. Believers should not celebrate all these feasts that the world is celebrating. These pagan holidays are demonic. These feasts are periods of intense demonic activities. Normally, children of God was supposed to be in attitude of prayer during these feasts. When you are living in distraction like the world, you may fall victim because demons would be reaping human souls during these celebrations and pagan feasts. Actually, before any pagan feast and celebration like Christmas, New Year's Eve, Easter, the goddesses and sirens were putting in production new fashion and new trends. The industrial complex and manufacturing industry of the marine civilization would be busy working in order to release new fashion and the new trend of clothing in circulation on the surface of the earth. Thus new shoes, new artificial hair, and new men's hairstyle and trend will be released and put in circulation during the celebration of the pagan holiday. These items are attached to demons. We were upbeat to release to earth because we knew that even the children of God who have not separated from the world trend and fashion will be celebrating these pagan holidays, and they will run after the trend, fashion, and style. For in fact, children of God are the priority, and they are the first target of the marine world. These items were tools and channels of manipulation. We were removing 5 years of Christians that are attached to pagan feasts and fashions. We were also removing people's years when they are celebrating pagan feasts. Beloved, the world beneath the ocean is exactly the same as our world. There is massive and advanced infrastructure. In the marine kingdom, we have demons and human agents that are tailors, models, and designers. World-renowned models and fashion designers of big brands descend to the water world. The world that is under the ocean is a physical kingdom. It is an ancient and advanced civilization built by those who have fallen from heaven. Let me remind you that the food we eat on the surface is processed in this marine world of the sirens. The clothes we wear on the surface and the technology we use on the surface comes from the oceanic civilization. Chapter 10: International Witchcraft. In the aftermath of my initiation in witchcraft, I began to attend the dark gathering of witches and wizards in the astral dimension. In this gathering, there were witches of streets, neighborhoods, and quarters. In our brotherhood, there were also international witches who perform international and intercontinental movement to cause manipulation and cast spells around the world. Given that I was servant of the goddess Elizabeth and the Marine Kingdom agent, I was a high-ranking and international witch. Thus every night I was attending the witchcraft gathering in the astral world when people were sleeping. Often in these dark gathering in the astral world, they were in a court hearing where witches and wizards were launching accusations against Christians and unbelievers. 5 Every time a man is prospering in the neighborhood, out of jealousy and wickedness, a witch will step forward and will begin to accuse the prosperous person. When a couple and a marriage is characterized by harmony, a witch will come to accuse the couple that is living in peace and harmony in order to urge the dark world to interrupt and remove joy in that house. Whenever a man is happy and satisfied in life, there will be an accusation, and when a church is winning souls, there will be voices rising in court demanding countermeasures. The dark world is opposed to joy, health, wealth, and happiness on the surface of the earth. During these hearings in the court in the astral world, many fellow witches were accusing their family members living in Europe and America for failing to take care of their families. And every time there were voices rising in court in the night against people, there were verdicts and resolutions against the accused. Time after time, there were accusations against people living in Europe and America for ignoring the plight of their siblings, and the verdicts of punishment were issued. Given that there were international witches in this brotherhood, we were instructed to travel around the world in order to punish expatriates living in America and Europe that were accused and condemned in court. Beloved, the Bible says watch and pray. While you are enjoying sleep, the enemy is raising his voice in accusation and condemnation. You must pray. The Bible says in Isaiah 54:17, no weapon that is formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is of me, said the Lord. Fellow witches were sending us to attack members of their family living in Europe. There are many Africans living in Europe and America who are targeted for witchcraft manipulation from relatives back home. 6GIVEN that I was a high-level witch. My operation was worldwide. I was traveling across Africa and around the world. We were traveling in many countries by night to cause destruction. We had mystical and interdimensional flying craft through which we were operating long-distance journey in seconds. I used to travel every day while people are sleeping. I was leaving my body, and thanks to my immaterial flying craft, I was traveling to the country of Angola, Congo, Gabon, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Given that fellow colleague witches had family members in European countries and American territory, we were hell-bound to cast spells and bewitch these targeted people who were accused and condemned in the court of witchcraft. These people were wrongly accused of failing to send money and take care of the family. The whole thing was out of bitterness and wickedness of the world of witches. The verdict and conspiracy of night gathering stipulated many forms of punishment against these expatriates. Beloved, you may be living in Europe and America, and experiencing stagnation as a result of witchcraft, accusation, and witchcraft verdict and manipulation. We were traveling to Europe by night to attack financial life, marital life, and the professional life of expatriates living in Europe. We were boarding interdimensional flying engine, and in a split second, we were traveling in the speed of thought and we were landing in the desired destination. Once we arrived in these European countries, we were entering the houses of people who were our targets while they were sleeping. And we were collecting things that belonged to them, such as their hair, their clothes, and anything that represents them in the spirit world like nails or underwear. We were doing incantation with their items. As a result, their finance, their professional life, their faculty were affected and bewitched. When these people would wake up in the morning, unpredictable and bad things will begin to happened to them throughout the day. Whatever we did in the night when they are sleeping was manifesting in the day. 7th morning prayer is a must for God's people. Christians must understand that they are in war and battle. They must learn to wake up early and undo satanic manipulation and destroy spells. Otherwise, they will face the implication of night operation. We must understand that witches and wizards move with the power of Satan. Anytime your house has been visited by his agents, your day will be affected because we are dealing with satanic power. Unless you undo night activity with morning prayer, event and incident will unfold throughout the day. If you have money and saving, the situation will arise in the day so that you would spend that saving, and in the end you would be in financial hardship. And once you are bewitched, even if you go to look at the work, you won't be employed because you are under manipulation. We were even blocking people's paper in the immigration office so that people's paper will be delayed for years. We were causing poverty, blockade, conflict at home. There are people living in Europe, but they are constantly under attack from wizards coming from Africa. On the other hand, it was not easy for me to abandon this dark activity because it was my life. I was taken to more than 4 churches and I was asked if I want to abandon witchcraft. I said yes. However, in my heart I did not want to abandon this activity because I liked it. These churches prayed for my deliverance, but I was not delivered because I did not want to abandon it. It was only when I decided to abandon witchcraft that I was delivered. Honestly, I was enjoying witchcraft because I was traveling the world, America, and Europe every night, and I like that. Every day in the world of witches there is a great celebration. People eat, drink, and they have sex. And they fly over the city like Superman. In order to attack people in Europe, we needed permission from the family member of these people. Then a broomstick was turned to a plane. These flying craft of the unseen world are more advanced than the one built by terrestrial civilization. Human aircraft is a copy and duplication of the flying craft built by those who have fallen from heaven. Terrestrial technology comes from the unseen world transferred to the scientific community, that is the initiate. The unseen flying device that moves at the speed of thought is far advanced and travel in the speed of light and reach the destination in seconds. In fact, they obey the will of the driver and ride in an autonomous way. This is why many people who had traveled to Europe are not making progress despite their effort and work. When we arrive at the destination or the house of the targeted person in Europe, he will come under control and manipulation. Even if he enters in a place where they are recruiting, they will not employ him because he is monitored and under a spell. He's gonna have to break the bondage, the manipulation and enchantment in order to make progress in his life. Chapter 11 Traffic Accident. I was required by the satanic world to give a specific number of people in a specific time period. In this instance, I could not kill people one by one. I had to cause an accident of buses or boats or planes. I would enter a bus and I will begin to scan the bus to determine the spiritual status and identity of people inside the bus. In case they are all unbelievers, I will proceed immediately, but in case they are Christians, I had to consider whether to proceed or not. In case there is a number of born-again believers on the bus, I had to make decisions. In many cases, I was proceeding and executing the operation, for I knew that Christians will be spared but unbelievers will die. When the operation begins, first and foremost, I would enter the body of the driver to manipulate his mind to accelerate the speed. Often the driver would see a woman in the middle of the street, carrying a child on her back. He would not be able to stop the car and there will be an accident. Believers will be spared but unbelievers will die and their souls will be reaped by demons that were accompanying me. Often I was causing the driver's mind and eyes to see a huge imaginary stone appearing in the middle of the road. The driver will not be able to avoid it. As a result, there will be an accident. 9. Moreover, I was able to enter the car system and destroy the brake with the result of causing accidents. We were able to enter the car engine and system and disrupt everything. I remember a program that was broadcasting the accident happening in the city. I was watching this program to see the accident that I had caused. Often in order to cause an accident in the boulevards, I was showing up and landing in the middle of the road. I was appearing before the driver in the shape of a reptile, crocodile, and hippopotamus in the middle of the boulevard, and the driver was bumping on the animal and the car was rolling. Often when a driver saw this manifestation in the boulevard, he would try to avoid the animal. As a result, the car would be rolling and there would be an accident. The souls of these people will be rounded up and taken into captivity to the water world, where they will be held captive, and some of them will be turned to demons. They will be enrolled in the army of Satan and will begin to work like demons. In these missions to cause accidents, I was taking all the possible and impossible shapes you can imagine, from a beautiful and seductive woman to beasts of all kinds. Because of these transformations, souls were captured. Often I was meeting men who were Christians. Once I meet a man who is a believer in Jesus Christ. I was getting calls and communication from the Marine Kingdom telling me that the target is an evil man. I should abort the mission as there is no chance. Chapter 12. Destruction in the hospital. Beloved, there are people who like this place called the hospital, which is a place of demonic activity. I was often deployed in the hospital to cause destruction. I was inflicting myself with sickness and I was hospitalized. It was during my stay in the hospital that I would begin to cause destruction. 10. Is often done with the support of the nurses, as they are many doctors who are in occultism. I was attacking the sick in the hospital and patients that were without Christ, and patients had sickness of mystical origin were suffering. A hospital is a place of demonic activity where souls are reaped by demons. When our victims were declared dead, we were trapping the spirit of the victim in the body in order to cause staged or fake death. Once the hospital declared the person dead and put his body in the morgue, on the day of his burial in the night we were collecting his soul. Any man who died as a result of a witchcraft attack goes through the worst kind of torture ever. Once we captured the soul of the victim, we were judging him and he was subjected to torture. In the end, we had to decide whether to send him to the central prison, which is in the Marine Kingdom, or turn him to an wandering spirit or a demon. There are people who are destroyed through human sacrifice and have become ghosts and wanderers, as they have died prematurely and they would not go to the abode of the death until they reach the number of years allocated to them by God. In the end times, the devil is resorting to human spirits and enrolling them in his army and providing them training so that they will function as demons. Thus victims of human sacrifices and wars perpetrated by the devil, victims of traffic accidents, are rounded up and taken into captivity in the Marine Kingdom, where they are trained to function like demons and they are deployed against the Church and humanity. Thus the Church is in the war against demonic spirits and human spirits that are operational on the surface of the earth. Although they are officially dead, occultists often put on the identity of the dead and walk in the city. It happened not far from the capital when a man courted a lady in the street and they went to the hotel and had sex. The following day, the man went to get the woman at the address she gave him. When he got there, he found people mourning their loved one who died 2 weeks ago. He was told that the person he is looking for died 2 weeks ago. The man was overwhelmed. Chapter 13. Pregnant with an avatar baby. 11. First and foremost, I would like to make it clear, when servants of the devil died, they continue their lives in the aquatic civilization. Many people are dying on the surface as a result of human sacrifices, and they continue their lives in the Marine Kingdom. They are often deployed on the surface spiritually or physically in various appearances. They are seasons and periods in the year where water spirits emerged from the sea and come to spend time on the surface in order to collect souls. I used to go to the market in the city where my grandmother was selling stuff. And in the market, there was a man who was a money changer. When I noticed this man, I sent him the spirit of seduction. As a result, he started to come to me and he was seduced. He fell in love with me. In truth, I am the one who caused him to fall for me. However, at that time I was pregnant, but he did not know about it. But the thing is that the pregnancy that I had was not of this world. I was pregnant in the marine kingdom. Despite the fact that this pregnancy was not of a physical origin, I was supposed to deliver this baby from the water kingdom physically on the surface. The baby was an avatar, he was a human spirit. I mean, we are dealing with a man who was in black magic, who served the devil and died on the earth, then continued his life in the marine kingdom. That decided that he should return to the surface for a mission. Thanks to a physical birth, the goddess Elizabeth and Jacqueline had resolved to send this man back to the surface of the earth on a specific mission. I made it clear that the rate of demons and marine spirits that are migrating and born in human families is increasing. Many families don't realize that some of their family members are not human, they are marine spirits. Thus, demons are born physically on the earth. When the siren Elizabeth and Jacqueline resolved to send this old man on the surface of the earth for a new life, they placed his spirit in my womb and I became pregnant on the surface. Given that I was pregnant physically, I was supposed to find a man to whom I will attribute this pregnancy. I wanted a man before the whole family discovered that I am pregnant, so that this man will take responsibility for this pregnancy of the marine world. 12 and the family discovered that I was pregnant, I lied to my family that the pregnancy belonged to this man who was in love with me. In truth, it was not his pregnancy. It was from the water world. I said in the spiritual world, I was an adult and a big lady, even if I was a young girl in the physical world. The moment I began the relationship with this man, I had to have sex with him in order to lie to him that I was carrying his pregnancy. On that day on Christmas, the man took me to his place and we had sex. Months later, the pregnancy of the water world became visible. And then I told my family about the supposed father of the baby who accepted this responsibility. When I was supposed to deliver, I went to the hospital. The midwife who helped me was a witch. I was also a witch and the child was an avatar. He was a beautiful baby. And apparently, there was nothing wrong with him. Yet he was not a normal baby. He grew up and developed normally. There was no way people could know that the child came from the marine world. It was one day when I went to my mother's church that the pastor began to pray for every single member of the church. When the pastor came to me, he said, "Why are you not abandoning witchcraft? I prayed for your deliverance, yet you are still practicing magic." Actually, the pastor prayed for me previously, but I refused to abandon dark practices because I was enjoying it. And I only abandoned it when I was tired of it. Then the pastor said to me, "I can see that you have a baby at home. I want that baby to be brought here." Beloved, the moment the pastor talked about the baby in this church, I saw with my spiritual eyes that the baby who was an avatar began to cry. He reacted the very moment the pastor mentioned him in the church because he was a marine spirit. Later, the protocol rushed to my place and brought the baby to the church. 13 and the pastor saw the baby, he said to me, "This baby is not a normal child. He is an avatar. He is not from the physical world. He comes from the spiritual world." The pastor asked me, "Where did you get this baby?" I said, "I got the pregnancy from the marine world." The pastor said to me and my family, "Do not mistreat the baby because of the revelation. Treat him Well, but I will pray so that he can die and return to the marine world where he came from. On that day in the church, the pastor prayed for the baby to die and return to the marine kingdom. From that day, I never breastfeed that child again. And from that day onwards, the baby who was an avatar refused to eat. He was no longer eating until he died and returned to the water kingdom, where he came from. On that day when the pastor gave these words of knowledge, he said to me, "You will abandon witchcraft or you will die and things will get tough for you." From that day onward, I avoided traveling to the marine world. But the baby who was a human spirit from the marine kingdom continued to go out of his body and was traveling to the marine world. Actually, this baby was an old man who had died and continued his life in the marine kingdom. The siren had put him in my womb so that he will reborn on the surface of the earth and continue his life of destruction on the surface of the earth. The baby was superior to me in terms of power and position in the dark world. Thus, there are babies in maternity that are not ordinary humans, but they are avatars. They came to Earth to cause destruction. This baby was an old man older than me. He continued to come out of the body, and often he was calling me to join him. But I refused because I was afraid of the word of the man of God. We knew the identity and the power of the pastor. That is why I feared the consequences of going against his words. People in the family were considering killing this baby. They kept away from him and they were afraid of him. This baby was no longer eating until he died and went back to the water kingdom. 14this is the reality of the world in which we are dwelling. There are people who seem human but they come from the dark world. In the village, there was a mother who had delivered her baby, but there was something about this baby. He was tirelessly drinking her mom breast milk to the point that the mother was in pain. Every time this baby was removed from the breast, he was crying and he would not stop until he is put back to the breast. This affected the health of his mother. Until one day when the mother went to the field. As soon as she placed the baby on the soil in order to work, the child began to cry. The mother could not bear it. So she put her baby on her back yet. The baby continued to cry. The mother continued to work in the field while the baby was crying. Suddenly an old woman came out of the bush, began to shout to the mother and said to her, "You old lady, you think you are a child? You are an old woman and you making this lady suffer." The mother thought the lady was talking to her. She asked the lady, "Are you talking to me?" The lady replied, "I am not talking to you. I'm talking to the old woman that you are carrying on your back. She is an old person. How can an old woman torture your life?" Suddenly the baby dropped to the ground and became an old woman, and she chased that lady to the bush. Since that day, she was never seen again. We are living with humans who are avatars. They are not of this world. They are presidents, politicians, and leaders. Initially, when my mother knew that I was a witch, she took me to church so that the pastor can deliver me, but in my heart, I had not decided to abandon witchcraft. Given that I was not willing to let go, I was not delivered. Although the pastor prayed hard, nothing happened. 15a witch can be delivered only when he decided to abandon and come to Christ. On the other hand, this pastor was good and I could not bear the pastor because of his eyes, which were fiery and flamboyant. It was when I was pregnant with the avatar that the pastor knew that I had not abandoned witchcraft. And I was not delivered. After revealing the mystery about the marine kingdom, the pastor warned me not to practice black magic, otherwise, there will be consequences. Since that day, I gave up traveling to the marine world, despite the fact that my colleague kept coming to try and get me. Even the mystical baby who was a senior was leaving the body and traveling to the water kingdom, but I could not go with them because of the word of the pastor. Finally, on that day of deliverance, my mother took me to the pastor because I was tired of this activity of black magic, and the pastor prayed for me. I was delivered. Few days after deliverance, I was at home. I woke up well and I was washing clothes. Later, I went to the toilet to relieve myself when suddenly I saw a spirit coming out of the toilet. It was the siren Madeline, also called Princess Jacqueline. This is the siren of the toilet. When she appeared on the surface, she shot me with an arrow and I fell to the ground. When I fell to the ground, my spirit left my body. When I went out of my body, I saw demons taking my soul to the cemetery. I was in a coma and I was taken to captivity to the cemetery. When I looked around, I saw that I was surrounded by all the witches that were assembled in this cemetery in the presence of the goddesses Elizabeth and Jacqueline. I knew that I have betrayed the covenant and pact that I have signed with the devil. The goddesses were about to take me to captivity to the central prison of the marine kingdom. They dug a hole in order to bury me and transport me to the water world. 16 In the meantime, while I was in a coma on the surface of the earth, my body was rushed to church, so that the pastor can deal with this situation. I was told that my body was as cold as a dead person. When the pastor was praying and reclaiming my soul, I was still captive and surrounded by witches and water goddesses in the cemetery. Goddesses of the sea ordered this assembly of witches to bury me in that hole. They were about to bury my soul when suddenly I saw my pastor showing up in the assembly of witches in the cemetery. It was the spirit of my pastor. When he landed in the cemetery, I saw demons scattering in all directions. I believe it was Jesus Christ himself who came in the shape of my pastor. There was a stampede and people were scattered. Then my spirit returned to my body. The Bible says in Deuteronomy 28:7, the Lord shall cause your enemies that rise up against you to be smitten before your face. They shall come out against you one way, and flee before you 7 ways. A few days after this incident, I started getting threats from the enemy asking me to come back to the kingdom, otherwise face the consequence. Recently I suffered a sickness that was an attack from the marine princess. I was serving Princess Greta, who was a marine kingdom agent who initiated me in witchcraft. The Lady Greta was a collaborator of the goddess Magdalene and the goddess Elizabeth. After the attack at the toilet, the Princess Magdalene began to send me text messages in Swahili. She was threatening me and asking me to return to the marine kingdom or face destruction. Every day she and Elizabeth were sending me text messages asking me to come back to them. I have received 15 messages of these two goddesses in my phone. The goddess Elizabeth sent me a text message saying, "We really need you urgently. And when you decide to come back to us, this is the number to call us." 17 Elizabeth left me her number on the phone, but I am not going back to them. These are both sirens of the toilet, and they are in every house of the earth. A toilet is the dwelling place of demons, witches, and wizards. They like doing incantation in the toilet because it is a portal. Often meetings of wizards take place in the toilet. When you are using your phone and talking in the toilet, you must understand that you are connected to Princess Elizabeth and Jacqueline, who are goddesses of the place. You should not eat in that place. It is dangerous to have sex in the toilet because there are entities that rule that place. You may receive the spirit of sexual immorality from Jacqueline and Elizabeth. You may be attached to a spiritual husband and you will be dreaming of sexual intercourse with an unknown man. These goddesses cause ladies to have infection and sickness. There were witches and marine spirits coming in broad daylight to intimidate and threaten me to come back to the marine kingdom, but I made up my mind not to. Once you come to Christ and go back to the enemy, he will not let you live. 18.